Now, the ESL Season 16 final was, of course, a best of 5. It went all 5 maps. I was working it as a watch party. It lasted something like, 8 hours, more than 7 hours. It was very draining. You could see both teams playing some very scrappy CS from the 3rd map on. Lots of misses in the game. Even the game pretty much ended on a crazy miss of 2 people just spraying away at each other and whiffing. Even ZywOo, the guy's the MVP of the tournament, has absurd stats for the final and the tournament. Quite frankly, had some shit rounds at certain times on Overpass until late on he took over. Then what happens? Well, even though this was one that was an epic best of 5, because it was dodgy, and quite frankly, because it was a best of 5 final, the same old carousel starts up. The carnival guy starts cranking it. The same journalists come out. I've always thought best of 5 is whack. It's just not even a super show of skill. Players, yeah, I don't like it. Like, I just want to play best of 3, and then like whoever wins, like we're at the bar, bro, and like, can we just have all the money still, and then everything great in life, but just have it easier for us. Play like it's the same. All the talent come out. Oh, hey pros, like yeah, I have the same opinion as you. Like let's hang out. Like call me. Like oh man, live and the same whack arguments. Like people don't even attempt logical consistency. They'll make one case here, cherry pick from one, and then go. But what about over here when it's awesome? And you go, what's the principle? Can I? Never mind that. Like look, that was good and that was bad. Like it's the same garbage. So let's be real. Let's start with why the whole topic of best of 5s is whack. People don't even often say best of 5 finals. They just say best of 5. So first of all, the issue is most people just view it as a binary. It's either like all games should be best of 5 or they should be best of 3. There's so much hive mind groupthink in esports where like if something's good, everything must be that. I've never wanted that. I've always wanted a circuit. So I love the open circuit where one tournament's best of 3, double elim, one single elim with best of 5 finals. One could even do best of 1 if you're really creative. I've even suggested do a tournament where when a new map like Ancient comes out, you put a massive prize pool. It's just a BO1 double elim Ancient tournament. We see who's actually good on Ancient and people get a chance to prepare it. So it's not just a perma for everyone. And it's actually worth trying to compete and win the money if you're a top team. So when this all happens, right, first of all, is the idea, let's make it about finals. See, I've never suggested anything but finals be best of 5, quite frankly, unless it's a specialist like 4-team tournament or something like the Gfinity Champion of Champions. Look it up from 2015. In this scenario, to me, it should become like either all finals are best of 5 or none. Becomes what type of finals are best of 5. That's not even being discussed. Like, because I made the point a million times, how about just majors or kind of, at least some people are starting to get that and go, yeah, actually, maybe that is okay. So at least we're getting some nuance brought into it, but man, it's still so much, it's like all or nothing. Then it just becomes cherry picking the bad ones and going, oh, because they're bad, look, why are we bloody doing this? Don't bother, by the way, ever point what happens to best of 3 finals, because best of 3 is just perfection, isn't it? It brings the best CS out, so let's just ignore all the whack best of 3 ones, or the ones that ended in like an hour and a half, or just had fucking smashed out the server, or someone fucked up the veto and just wrecked the whole thing for themselves and never even had a crack. Let's never mention any of that. Then you have some really whack angles on the good BO5s. The ones that are like almost inarguably some of the greatest matches of all time. And people are trying to argue basically these out of existence, but they still sort of want to say like, yeah, but I did enjoy it. So what are you talking about? And by the way, I'll just say it now because I'll be coming back to this later. It's going to be my bugbear for the rest of my career. I understand. People are going to refuse to get beyond this. The world right now has this problem, but esports is mired in it. People are incapable of more than single factor analysis. So I'll drop some secondary and tertiary factors later that can completely attenuate this whole conversation and would make it an interesting convo if people would just think. Now, I did a video back in March 2017, which was about making more finals best of 5. I encouraged ESL to continue doing it since they'd done it with the Pro League at the end of 2015, and they'd had it at Katowice this year, which was the one, remember, where Astralis beat Nico's FaZe Clan when Nico had just joined, and it was a 3-1 result in the final. Now, ESL, funnily enough, did listen to me over the years. They leveled up their format in 2018 with that really good, sturdy double elim group stage into a single elim playoff bracket, but then a best of 5 final. So let's revisit this topic. Let's re-examine it and let's restate my position on best of 5 finals, of which I'm a pretty famous but rare proponent, you'll note. So let's address the issues, right? We'll just do it that way and that'll construct the argument. So players don't like it and they think it's too tiring. That's a major issue because it's not just talent, is it? Like, so many people in the scene are just simps for players. Whatever pros think, oh Lord, we must just do everything they say. They're just people who are really good at playing the game. Why would we cater everything to them? We can't even trust what they say. Like when they go, oh, but it'd be better for this. Show me. Show me reasons. Just saying it isn't enough, mate. Just because you're a pro doesn't mean you don't lie. Doesn't mean you're even... Who says you're even capable of knowing and articulating yourself what is better for you? Because there's one thing I'm sick of. I'm just going to say it right now. I don't care what pro's like. I might have if I was running Flashpoint. In theory, I wanted to play my tournament. I get my TOs get them. But I don't have to care a story in the esports historian. You just shut up and fucking play. If we want to talk, yeah, you can do interviews, all this stuff. But in this particular case, like, your word doesn't carry any extra authority to me. So players getting what they want, I would say, has fucked CSGO over the years. They're the ones who asked for EPL back in, I think, 2016 to go to round robin and be BO1, the worst format of all time. They're the ones who wanted all the tournaments to switch to randomised Swiss system. Haven't we seen from majors how ropey those are for getting actual good 3-0 teams? I don't worship players, guys. They're here to play, not design tournaments, not lead like fucking discourse, not be the ultimate judge, jury, and execution of what must happen and is the only right answer. So because some guy can aim slightly better with his wrist muscles on a fucking crosshair onto someone's head, he now knows more about how a tournament should... What are you talking about? What on earth are you talking about? Have you never seen how whacked some of the greatest sports stars are as general managers, as thinkers, in interviews? Because they're really good at something else than the thing you're now trying to get them to apply themselves to. So, okay, you know when they say, you ready for another bold opinion? Where they go, it's too tiring though. Good. I want you to be tired at the end of a best of 5. So let's be real, and let's just go ahead and say this right now. That's already where the cherry picking begins. It's too tiring. What are you talking about? The same time, the people who say best of 5 suck, go, it's just going to be 3-0s and 3-1s. Well, which is it? Is it 5 games that go forever with overtimes? It's too tiring and physically no one can play great Counter-Strike? Or is it just too many 3-0s that are boring or 3-1s? Exactly. When it's a sweep and a 3-0, it's almost certainly just fine. It's actually rare that you have one like Katowice this year, which was like really banging across all 3 maps, or I Am Sydney most famously. By the way, notice they can be sweeps and be amazing series that are better than a best of 3. You never hear that though, do you? You never hear that from the people making these arguments, because they're not making arguments. This isn't actually rhetoric. It is fucking sophistry. They're just coming up with something that sounds like it makes sense and appeals to all their biases and ignores the rest of the argument and is not actually a principle you can apply and look elsewhere and put other data inputs into. It's just believe this because of this way, because I feel this way. And does it sound like it makes sense? I'm so sick and tired of these fucking bullshit arguments. Then after sweeps, which even can be great series, as I've just pointed out, how about when it's a 4-mapper? Well, the 4-mapper's totally fine, isn't it? Especially if you win in dominant fashion at a 4-mapper. Yeah, they won one map, maybe they were in another game, but you convincingly won. You showed you were the much better team and you win the championship. That's one of the reasons I want best of 5s. And also notice we're still not super tired unless the best of 4, best of 5 over 4 maps goes insanely long, which again, let's be real. How often is that happening? Notice they never mention that. They always talk like the other way around. If there's only a good one, like 1 out of every 10 times. Where are these stats? Why are you pulling stats out that don't even make... Go and show me the history to show me that's the case. Explain contextually why each one was rubbish. I'll be doing it later, motherfucker. You won't. You'll just be making your dog shit points on Twitter. So then let's go to the dreaded 5-mapper. Oh, God, remember, that's what they're setting up as the nightmare. I'm so tired. Please, please just let me stop playing CSGO for fucking tens of thousands of dollars a month. Millionaire. I'm a millionaire, but I have to play 5.5 hours. 7 hours. I have to work something. Shut the fuck up. Mate, you know in Grand Slam finals in tennis, they can have like 3 or 4 or 5 hour matches where they're physically running all the time, where they're hitting and throwing their elbow as hard as they can. And you're playing video games for 7 hours and going, oh, it's almost like I'm in a fucking gulag, man. Please, please. Even when they win. That's how fucking narcissistic some of these pros are. Oh, that's right, homie. You're going to go whip and have a legend. Yeah, you're a narcissist too, though, aren't you? You've had all those yes men around you your whole fucking career. You've had all those other journalists licking your bum the whole fucking time because they wanted to have a beer with you. Well, you know what, homie? I'll trade that beer to tell you the real, to your face. And by the way, any of you meet me in real life, come talk to me. You all know. You've all been in those bars and some of you have tried it. The rest of you do fuck all, don't you? So, whatever. Keep talking good online. Keep talking all that reckless shit online, homie. So then we come to the 5-mapper, right, with some overtimes. I'm with you. In that unlikely scenario, it can be really hard on the pros. Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Not only is it really hard, but it's so rare that when it is really hard, even if the match isn't always the best pure quality, it tends to produce something really special and unique. It tends to produce the kind of a match that the players who play in it will never forget in their life, win or lose. It produces a match where, because it's so hard and tiring and no one can maintain 100% focus, well, since when are we designing systems so people can maintain 100% focus? Can they in a UFC final? Can they in a World Cup final? Can they in a fucking tennis final? That's never even been a component in chess. Did we make it so it's not too draining? What are you talking about? Again, why are you dealing with pros like this? Just giving them all what they want, like the fucking Princess and the Pea. So when you get that, you get these matches that are just like gems in history. And you know what? Yeah, they take a lot out of you. Yeah, you can't do too many of those, right? Others are going to drain you. Your next tournament, you're probably fucked, right? That's why it's going to be fucking epic if you win it, though. Like, no player, let's be real, can be a monster in every single map of a best of 5 that's 5 straight maps without some slip-ups, some failures. I mean, I do notice some of the people who are bagging on Simple. Yeah, they're very quiet about some of these other great players that go in these finals and don't do a lot, eh? Weird how that works. So let's consider this. You will get to see in that match, because they're pushed to their limit, what their limit is. You'll get to see the full extent of who that team is. Stylistically, do they get figured out eventually? Do they actually get to a point where mentally, when they run out of a bit of energy, they don't actually have much beyond just tactics or simple reads? How do they cope when they're behind the 8 ball, down 0-2, down 1-2? What do they do when the game's on the line? And even if you win, you have to win another match. How do they battle that? It's a mental game now. Something else kicks in, doesn't it? Will kicks in now. Spirit takes over now. So the analogy I often like to give is this, because it came to me by way of the great Chael Sonnen, one of the great thinkers and talkers from MMA. And it's the analogy of how the UFC does their title fights and now just their main event fights for the pay-per-views. The rest of the fights, even contenders matches, if they're on the second or third fight, are often best of 3. That was famously the way it went, because that's actually the normal amount of time. You even gas in a best of 3 if you don't know. 3-rounder. You even gas in a 3-rounder in the UFC. But what they did is they made the title fight 5 rounds, and they call the 4th and 5th rounds, are you ready? This is beautiful if you're a Vitality fan. The championship rounds. That's beautiful if you're a FaZe fan, isn't it? Something different about those, the championship rounds. Because you know why? They call it in MMA the deep water. Someone could be beating your ass first 3 rounds. He might be rocking you and almost beat you in round 2, but you hold on. You dig in. You get that champion's spirit going. You have that grit that you won't fucking give up. And you're going to make this guy beat you. Like when TSM was playing Virtus Pro in the ESL Dubai final in 2015. Oh, TSM was probably the better team, but Virtus Pro said, not unless you can make us lose. You have to take this title from us, and TSM couldn't do it, because back then they had some chokers in their team, didn't they? So when it comes to that point in time, in my opinion, it's about will over skill. And you know what? What's funny is it's Dupree who's making all these points on Twitter about like best of 5s. Here's what's wild about that. You know, Dupree was something like minus 15 over the first 3 maps. And then he was like plus 12 over the last 2. And on the second last map, Overpass, he basically is the reason why Vitality won this trophy. He saved their asses with some amazing late game play where the others were all whiffing and the others were all nervous and the others were all tired. And because he's one of the greatest legends to ever play Counter-Strike, he was able to just use his brain to beat these people, not his aim. He was able to use the experience he's built up, the times he's been to the deep waters against his opponent, because that's what a champion can do. And all these up-and-coming young guys who could have blown him out the server in a best of 3 couldn't do it in this best of 5, could it? They all just had to watch on and go, fuck this guy. Oh, how do I beat him? Oh, it's the best of 5. Get rid of it. Yeah, exactly. So this is a point Chael Sonnen originally made that I understood when he talked about Georges St-Pierre, because famously Georges St-Pierre never lost in the once he got rolling his career as a champion again. And basically, most famously, he used to win by decision though in all the big title fights. He never used to finish people. So people go, he's boring. And Chael Sonnen pointed out, well, that's the thing. If you want him to just have an exciting fight, make it a 3-rounder, he'll score like everyone else. But if you make it a 5-rounder, he's going to actually use those championship rounds against someone. He's going to pace himself and be the best later on. And he's going to come on strong in all those fights and he's going to win them. And by the way, that is what he did and how he remained a champion. Look, I do personally think he lost one particular fight, but we don't have to go into that at this point in time. It's about how the judges score it. I'd even say if you want another classic example, didn't everyone love the first Conor McGregor-Nate Diaz fight? Wasn't that the fight where they were like, oh my goodness, Nate Diaz has beaten him and it's Conor McGregor, this crazy. You know why? Because Conor McGregor tried to knock him out. Conor McGregor went so hard early, and Conor McGregor wasn't someone with an amazing gas tank. And Nate Diaz pushed him into those late rounds and just beat him exactly like what I'm talking about with Dupree there. That was basically your Kindar against Dupree. That's what you could imagine that fight was. Think about where they were in their careers, the rising one, the one who's supposed to be dropping off, and then what happened in the actual match. This is also, though, why I'm not an unkind philosopher God King. I don't want them for every tournament. I didn't even say that back in the old video in 2017. I would only have best of 5 finals for the final of a major. I would have them for IM Katowice, IM Cologne, assuming they're still prestige events. And if Blast want one for theirs, Blast Global Finals. So there you go. I would only have 5 of them per year. That would also mean, think about this, playing in one is very special. This would actually have been a scenario where Spinks would never have played in a best of 5 yet in his career. Yekindao would never have played in one of these LAN best of 5s yet in his career. It would also mean, by the way, it would not only be special to reach one and play one and make it a very unique moment in your career, like a Grand Slam final, but it would also mean that if you have been in them before and you are a champion, you have a special advantage the others don't. Now, before people go, yeah, but I don't want that, I just want the best Counter-Strike. Well, then get rid of LANs, get rid of crowds, put them in a booth, cover them things so they can't see the fans, let them play as though it was online with all their home equipment, make it really cozy, let them play for home. That'll actually bring you the best Counter-Strike in terms of everyone playing at their peak. But that's not what you like, is it? You like the LAN final to make people a bit nervous and the great players to come out. You like a veteran like Carrigan and Rian to be able to beat out some up-and-coming players like Spirit because of massive crowds there and they're not used to. You like that. You like certain elements to be harder and to filter. You know why? Because you want to filter for greatness. You're not just filtering for skill at Counter-Strike or who can play well with no pressure. You want these things as a crucible to decide who is the best, as a fire to forge the greatest and to melt and destroy those who are incapable. That's an entire component of competition and what makes it compelling that people are ignoring on purpose in this conversation, but in a duplicitous way because they do want the crowd and they do want that and they do want, oh, people are pissing their pants in this semi-final. No, homie, you want the best CS only, so you must be against that. You wouldn't want them to hear the crowd and have people intimidating them. You want them to just never choke and play great in a studio environment, right? Copenhagen Flame, studio environment, that's your dream Counter-Strike, isn't it? Nah, it isn't, is it? I've already nailed you there. I've pierced your bullshit veil, haven't I? Then, think about this. That IM Cologne one was so epic between Na'Vi and FaZe. Let's be real. It was better than the major final that was between Na'Vi and FaZe, which itself was a very good best of 3. The best of 5 at Cologne was the series of the year. You know what? It might even be the best match ever played in Counter-Strike history, the entire franchise. And was the fact it was a best of 5 like an incidental part, or did it succeed in spite of that? No, it was an essential component of why it was so good, because it just delivered the whole way through. And that was exactly when we didn't know who was better out, FaZe and Na'Vi. I mean, I did, but in theory we didn't know, right? And after that match, who still said it was Na'Vi? Well, the stands, obviously, but most people didn't, did they? They gave FaZe the credit and it showed what FaZe was made of and how special they are. That's why, if you have these best of 5 finals in the right setting, the better and more experienced teams will win more often. I like that. I'm not saying you aren't allowed to win because you're an underdog, but you've got to really outplay them in the same way as in the championship fight in the UFC. You've got to beat the champion. You can't just point fight him. That's not the way they do it typically, right? Whereas otherwise, in best of 3, you just need one really hot map and then maybe just fluke a 50-50. 1 or 2 1v3s, 1v1s, nice 3k here when they're turned around and they get flashed. You just win the series off that. That's what you want for your finals, to decide the champion, decide who the greatest people are. So I think best of 5 finals for the tournaments I'm talking about make the results more meaningful. FaZe losing to NIP at that Auckland final in 2017 in a best of 5, and then losing to Fnatic in the 5th map of a best of 5 at Katowice afterwards. Those were bigger, in my opinion, than losing the Boston Major. Because those were the ones where, if FaZe really was a top 5 team of all time, they'd probably win both, if not one of these. And so, even though the Major was the bigger result in history, it was more meaningful for FaZe Clan that there was something wrong with their map pool, that their structure couldn't hold together enough, that maybe they were choking a little bit against some of the underdogs, because that's the thing. It's what it suggested, both about FaZe and how legendary those runs were. That final in Auckland basically made Rez's career for years to come. You're going to notice this is a trend, by the way, that'll continue. That final in Katowice brought Flusher back. That brought him back, guys. Before that, he was falling off. That was the one where he came back and showed all off. You know what? The 2 of us aren't better than you now. That's wild. Had Team Liquid won this final, it would have meant so much to them because it was a best of 5 against a team that in theory is better. These were players, remember, who were losing Astralis in all those best of 5 finals. And also, let's be real, so what I like about if it's a 3-mapper or a 4-mapper, it showcases dominance more. So when you have the Astralis era, and there's loads of these best of 5 finals, that's why no one can fuck with them. because they would just always win in that setting, seemingly. You couldn't beat them. It showed their map pool. It showed their resilience. It showed how deep the team was. It showed how they could bounce back from anything. It showed how it didn't matter how you started or how they started. It is a filter for greatness when properly applied. It is another level on the competitive ladder. You can win tournaments. You can win best of these. You can win blasts. Great. Now play a best of 5 in front of a massive crowd at a prestige event, knowing this is one of the biggest matches of your life, and you're playing against an opponent who's as good or equal as you, and you're going to play best of 5. You better bring everything. You better not leave a single fucking weapon in that arsenal. And if you do, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. That's why it'll haunt you when you lose those ones. And you know what? That's unfortunately the other side of the coin of why it's so amazing to enjoy and to win and have the celebration of winning one of those. Same as a UFC fight. It's not just the champion. It's looking how destroyed the other guy was mentally after a war that he doesn't get the decision on. That's part of what we watch this for. That's part of what makes esports compelling. So to me, you look at players like Ziwu, Yekindar, Shiro, Axile, Spinks, Stown, BlameF. What do all these guys have in common? They're still proving themselves on the biggest stages in the best of 5 finals. This was a really important one for Ziwu. Yekindar, he was pretty good, but he didn't quite reach the same levels he was in some of the BO3s. Shiro's basically almost never playing in these. Axile's had his ups and downs. Spinks hasn't quite frankly looked good in the ones he's played so far. Stown's not even reaching them. BlameF, he might be an amazing rifler. Are you ever going to play any of these? See what I mean? This filter for greatness is pretty cool, right? Otherwise, if it's all just random games like the online era, then forget having a top 10 players in the world. Top 10 players of this era. Just make it top 50 and there's loads of really good players who have good aim and FPL skills and frag out. And they have a good game here, they have a good game there. Stuff goes on and someone wins this day, someone wins that game. That's probably what you want, right? You just want constant turnover and upset. No, you don't. What happens is when someone's too dominant, you want it to end and you want another team to be as good, but you mischaracterize it as you just want it to be more exciting and be less boring. People forget this. Now people fondly look back and remember Astralis 2018-19, just like they remember Saviour in Brood War and Flash in Brood War and Rafa and Quake. But when those guys were winning everything, what was the retort from the casuals? It's just boring. I wish someone else would do it. This is Astralis just plays in a weak era. Just because Olafmeister took time off. It's just because FaZe Clan can't get a good idea. Oh, it's just boring. You're boring. You're the one who's bored. I'm not bored. I was loving the Astralis era. It was fucking incredible to watch. You fucking peon. So okay, how about this? Remember all those great Blast finals of super high level CS because they were all best of 3s. I'm the esports historian. I have an amazing memory. I've watched every great Counter-Strike match ever. I don't remember those great Blast finals. I even asked this on Twitter. Can anyone remember one? Blast was always used best of 3 for their finals. Nah. There aren't, there's ones that were like memorable because like Ents beat Astralis. There's ones where it's like, oh, maybe Team Liquid was better, but actually Astralis won. Not that great at final. There was the one where it's like, wow, Astralis with Dupree instead of Device almost beat SK. But yeah, but Inferno was shit though. You don't remember that one, do you? You don't get a break, I notice, in a best of 5 when it goes badly in a map. But in a best of 3, you can just skip a map being shit and just go to the third map. If it's overtime, you go, it's the most epic series of all time. You go look at the series, it ain't. That's why you need people like me to actually remember these games and explain to you what the fuck happened. So you don't just remember 1 or 2 rounds and expand it to the whole thing in your brain. So no, the Blast circuit shows that actually best of 3 files aren't that fucking fire. Remember, if it's like, yeah, but best of 5 only delivers 1 out of 10 times. And how many times has Blast delivered on theirs with the best of 3 finals? Go back and look it up, homie. Get at me. Hit me up when you've actually done your research and you have some fucking points. Not some shitty little sophistry on Twitter, my dude. Yeah, that's right. I'm going at your head. Then think about this. Blast, like I say, totally not particularly memorable finals at all, right? Highest CS? No. Now think of the ESL circuit this year. Cologne instantly jumps to mind, and it was incredible. Even Katowice was very good. And by the way, fair play to G2. They obviously had their situation with Monacy there and all the stuff going on around the world. I'm sure that wasn't so ideal. But even so, it was a very good best of 5. Go back and watch it. It was a banger. It was another one of them series of the year. Where are the Blasts in the series of the year? Finals we're talking. How about this? Best of 5 haters. I'll set the challenge for you. Name 3 Blast finals. They've had loads of finals, guys. 3 Blast finals, which was so epic and incredible in the CS played that they would be top 10 series of all time. You can pause the video because now I'll give you a second challenge. Name 1. I just want a top 10 series of all time. Name 1 Blast final. By the way, I think Blast has the best production. I think even the circuit's fine for the teams get invited. The stadiums all look good, etc. They know how to build a big crowd. People want to win a Blast. Where are all their IM Colognes? Where's our IM Katowice? Where are theirs epicenter 27? Where are they? Where are their matches like that would go in the all-time list? Where are they? They don't exist. That's right. Best of 5 finals. Are you ready? Best of 5. The best of 5 finals are the best matches in CSGO history. That's what I'm willing to gamble for. And I don't even think the gamble's 1 in 10. Now, you know what? If you are having a hard time keeping going during these matches, you're nodding off a bit, you're so tired. You know what? I like to use gamer-supps. I used to, when I was at events, also be doing that nod like that, and it was 2 long days. But actually, once I switched from those tacky, shitty energy drinks everyone else drinks to the NG Formula gamer-supps, I find I don't nod off. One of them keeps me going for hours and hours and hours. I have the smooth energy release with a nice taper off. It doesn't taste all chemically. It's keto-friendly. Get 10% off your order with the code Thorin, Thorin, at gamersupps.gg. Then there's the argument, oh my lord, if it wasn't pros, now we got to go to the other most important narcissistic people in the scene, viewers. The viewers don't like it. They don't have time to watch these matches. Right? One of the reasons I'm so bored of seeing fan and pro and talent opinions like this is you could actually go and check these things out. There's ways to verify these things. But instead, you just give your take. You look for confirmation bias and you don't care if it reflects reality. Like, for example, it would be so easy if fans don't want to watch and they don't have time to just show that when you have a best of 5 final, it makes the viewership drop off a cliff. It makes them generally just way worse than best of 3 finals. You never hit the same peaks and it's actually bad for the industry, right? Less people watch. Well, here's another reason, right, why that's a problem is if that ain't the case, what are we even discussing? A few people who are vocal don't like them, say they don't have time. Well, let's look at the overall numbers. How's it going? I seem to remember this industry swapped a few years ago to hours watched. Not like peak viewers. It's like how many hours total watched. Best of 5, almost inarguably, delivers more hours of games than best of 3s overall, right? That's better for the industry. That's better for ESL. I would suggest, actually, that's probably an area where I would guess, I haven't looked into the stats, I'd like someone to run them. I would imagine they're probably beating Blast's ass in that regard. Yeah, weird how that works. Because in a best of 5, after an epic map 3, people start jumping in for map 4 and map 5 and go, whoa, what's going on here? Wow, I'm like a Dota guy. What's going on in CS? In a best of 3, that's the best 2-map best of 3 ever. There's no time for that, mate. By the time they find out, it's basically almost the game over, right? There isn't a whole match left to do, but that's what happens in the UFC when you have Stephan Bonner versus Nick. That's what happens when you have this epic, like, non-stop war, back and forwards, amazing fight. And you know what? That's the other thing about those fights. Then they take a toll on you. It's like Kamaru Usman said after, I think it was after he fought Cody Covington the second time. He said, you know what? Those take so much out of you, you can't fight too many in your career. That's why they're so important to win and why they're so meaningful. Because, yeah, they do take something out of you. And what they cost your spirit to lose in that particular thing, or to win by such slim margins. So then, let's be real. I'm stating another principle. I'm sick and tired of catering to the lowest common denominator in esports. It's what has ruined and watered down and diluted all the esports and made them shitty compared to what they used to be 10, 15 years ago. I like sports like snooker that are so hardcore. You play like best of 35 frames. It takes days to play. And who gives a fuck if someone goes, I don't like, well, then get the fuck out, because we do like it. And we want to see the greatest snooker players ever. And we want to see who was the greatest of all time. Not just have a cool game that lasts 6 hours and then you're out. Nah, leave that for the peons. Make your own side so it gets called Blast and go and enjoy that. Let us enjoy ESL where we have these best of 5s, right? And then there's the cherry picking. All you do is pick the bad ones that you don't like and you ignore the rest, right? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you about the last 10 best of 5 LAN finals, and I'm going to explain the context of each of them. And I'm going to point out that some of them, by the way, I think even have external context, which made the game not as good. That isn't a normal match. But I'll take it on the chin. It's all fine by me. So let's look through. We had ESL Season 16, Vitality 3-2 over Team Liquid. Really messy game, but 2 teams who need to prove that they're a champion. Enormous match. Either of them, by the way, winning would have been so hyped for that team going into the major. And I do think it took everything from them. And I think the experience and overall more complete nature of Vitality in their map pool is why they won this final. So I think this one delivered. It wasn't the best CS game ever, but it's a very exciting, massively draining, epic war. Then how about IEM Cologne? Like I said, it might be the best match ever, right? Phase 3-2 over Na'Vi. Then go to IEM Dallas. Now, this is a tournament with tons of teams dropping out, tons of top teams. People had stand-ins, right? Cloud9, 3-0 Ents. It showed how good Cloud9 is, but also it showed that Ents has a pretty good core outside of Spinks, who they were going to lose later, because they had a stand-in that made it, didn't they? So is that really the same circumstance as all the others? Well, look, I'll take it, but I would say it's a little bit different. How about EPL Season 15? ENCE was there again, this time with Spinks against FaZe. 3-1 for FaZe, showed how conclusively better they were as a team, and that ENCE was a good up-and-comer, but they hadn't made it yet. Was that too long? Was that too boring? I thought it was all right. It's not my fault ENCE didn't play well in the final, some of the players are inexperienced. Then IEM Katowice 2022. It was a 3-0 for FaZe, but it was one of the series of the year. Top 5 series this year. Then how about IEM Winter 2021 last year? That was where Vitality somehow won 3-0 over NIP. Oh, it must have been so shit. Well, NIP had Forzy standing in, because I think it was before the semis, Device just quit, and then G2 had a ropey game in the semis because he had to go on his mental health break or whatever. And then Forzy came in, a mad standing that's not played at that level before, and they got 3-0 by Vitality. Just shows Vitality's good. Was it even that a problem? It's a 3-0. What, did it last too long, did it? Fucking hell. How dishonest are you going to be? Like, there's best of threes that last longer than that, isn't there? Then how about IEM Cologne 2021? It's LAN. It's LAN. First of all, it's a studio LAN. Secondly, G2 had never been in finals that year. No one expected them to. And Na'Vi 3-0'd them. You know what? That's part of why we think Na'Vi is so legendary and they're a top 10 lineup of all time. Because they were smashing even good players like Nico and G2. Then how about you go back to before the online era, IEM Katowice 2020. Na'Vi 3-0's G2, the one with Kenny S in it. And this was like, oh my goodness, G2 had been fragging out too. Na'Vi was unbeatable, even this was back when they had Flamey, because even Perfecto was going off, they were stomping everyone. Like, that was the one, by the way, where the whole playoffs didn't have a crowd, because you know what was happening. And then also, that showed how incredibly dominant Na'Vi's core could be, and later on they showed that potential when they got bitten a year later and LAN came back, didn't it? Now, was that too long, that super fast 3-0? No, but you don't mention that. Was it that it didn't deliver? Wouldn't the best of 3 also just been a 2-0 smash and been boring? Why was it a problem to have a third map where G2 could have woken up and shown something? Then you go to the one before, that was EPL Season 10. That was Carrigan's Mouse Spots, a lineup that has no business winning a tournament like that. Had already beaten Astralis in a best of 3. And then they 3-0'd Fnatic, the legendary Fnatic core, with some amazing, well, not the whole core, but some amazing players, and were one of the best teams in the world again. And they 3-0'd them to show the level that Carrigan's calling was on, mate. Yeah, enough said. Fnatic should have been the favourite on paper in that particular one. Then last one, 10th one, is IEM Beijing 2019. Astralis, 3-0's 100 Thieves. I think they won the tournament without dropping a map. Now, not only did Astralis always dominate 100 Thieves in terms of winning the series, but this was particularly key because it just showed this was Astralis 2019 hitting that peak again, going close to where they were from before. This is when you could start talking about, is there going to be like a second mini era come from this squad? Was that too long, was it, that match? That's why they don't keep the same energy, my dude. They don't have arguments. These are just fallacies. So logically, right, if it's dominant and shit, it's going to be over really quick. So there's the main argument out the window. It's too long, too draining. People don't watch, can't watch long enough. In fact, if it was going to be a team that was super dominant and the final would be shit, wouldn't you want all the people who paid for the tickets for the grand final, went there with signs and went before and cheered and listened to the analyst desk and the build-up and the hype and the walkout and the and then it was a fast 2-0 and then everyone out the building? That's like back in the day when Mike Tyson used to just knock people out at the beginning and you couldn't even get the pizza delivery there in time for your fight party and it ruined the whole thing. How is that a good thing, that it would take less time? And then, how about this? Tell me where the bad finals are in best of fives that don't deliver, that everyone's too tired, it's just shit, it was too long. Tell me what those finals are. They don't, they just say what. They don't ever say which ones. They don't name names. I do name names, motherfucker. I come at people's heads. Because I'm not a coward like you guys. No wonder you don't want to play a fucking best of 5 or watch one. Fucking pussy-o. Now take the events, by the way, out of those 10 that I wouldn't have included as best of 5 finals out of the equation. And you end up with these ones. There's IEM Cologne, FaZe over Na'Vi. One of the greatest matches of all time. You have to add in 2 that we would have had, which is PGL Antwerp final would have been FaZe versus Na'Vi over best of 5. My lord, imagine that. Imagine the hype when Carrigan hasn't won a major and Simple's going for back-to-back. Then you got IEM Katowice 2020 that we did have FaZe versus G2 3-0. Great series. Then you would have had PGL Stockholm, Na'Vi versus G2. After that nuke game, there would have still been another game where G2 could have come back and showed actually were they a team that could have won that major. Or Na'Vi could have won in truly dominant fashion and won another map to go, 13-0 and win the craziest major ever? That would be really exciting, wouldn't it? Would anyone say no to a third map? Apparently you would. IEM Cologne, the one where we came back to LAN, right? That was just Na'Vi smashing them. It was really quick. IEM Katowice, Na'Vi smashing the Kenny SG2. Just Na'Vi smashing them really quick. Incredible display of dominance, isn't it? That's why they seemed super dominant as a team. Wasn't like just a 2-0 smash. Then think of good best of fives and great best of fives in history. So you had Cologne this year. You had the aforementioned SK 3-2 over Virtus Pro in Epicenter 2017. The great line sort of battling one last time. You had 2016 ESL Pro League Season 3. Luminosity Gaming 3-2 over Shocks and Scream's epic G2 run. Then you had EPL Season 1 in 2015 where Cloud9 actually was in position to potentially win 3 of these maps and win the series with Shroud going off, but Fnatic won 3-1 through insane resilience and championship mentality. You had the aforementioned ESL Invitational Dubai in 2015, where Virtus Pro won 3-2 over TSM in a truly epic series. You had the ESL Season 2 finals, where Fnatic went 3-2 over Na'Vi. By the way, you know what I said about Rez earlier? This is another one that made someone's career. This final is the reason why everyone hyped Flamey for years and hung on forever. He had like 100 kills in this one against Fnatic. Now listen, this was actually the Fnatic with Dennis instead of the Fnatic with Pronax, but that's the point. He was able to go fucking ham against the core that was winning every tournament. This is what built his career. These are some of the most memorable games in history. If you want to make a top 10 of all time list, aren't most of these games going to be on there? Would you ever, after one of these, have said, you know what? I wish that was a best of 3 and I'd give up all the ones I think are average and bad ones in exchange to not have that match. That'd be fine with me. Nah. Because the best of 3 final isn't as good as the best of 5 final. And until you can acknowledge that, some people have, that's why they understand for Mages and Katowice and Claw maybe should have it. Until you can acknowledge that, I don't think we're having a good faith argument, because you're saying you want the best CS ever. No, you're saying you want the best CS ever every single time. Well, here's the other problem. Does that even happen in best of 3? Why are we pretending all best of 3s are fucking amazing and lasts exactly the right amount of time and don't make it too short a match? It's so disingenuous, these arguments. Now, one thing I think is incredibly boring as a topic is the whole, like, map veto angle, right? This is a point Lurpus has made for years. It doesn't matter that he's a friend of mine. I've always vehemently disagreed with him. The logic goes, well, because you pick 2 maps and then they pick 2 maps, like, you basically usually just each win your own maps. And that's just a BO1 anyway, but you just wasted, like, 4 maps. It's just nonsense across the board. Go and look how best of 5s play out. The difference in a best of 5 is you will lose your maps in a way you might not as often in a best of 3 because it's a best of 5, because of the psychological components, because of what a slog it is, and the fact you can't beat your best every single map. First of all, this is the final, and both teams are so unlikely to only be good at 2 or 3 maps, and in a way that totally is the alternate of the maps that the other guy is good on, and you end up with that scenario. That is such a fucking straw man. It is mental that that's a real argument being proposed for all best of 5 finals. It's just absurd. Then I think it's actually the opposite. And by the way, if you did only have 2-3 maps, I want you exposed in the best of 5 final. Because the other team is unlikely to be exposed if they only have 2-3 maps. If it's just a best of 3, right? They could fluke it. The worst team wins. Now, wait a minute. Did you want great CS? Or, right, you want bad teams to be able to play great CS by making it easier for them. You're an enemy of competition, my dude. I don't know what the fuck you just want the outcome you want, let's be real. I think it's the opposite, by the way. I think you get a ton of play across all the maps. I think Vitality almost stole Mirage, which would have been huge. It should have been Team Liquid map all day. But then Team Liquid almost stole Overpass, a map they really had no business winning against Vitality. Then Team Liquid had to come back on Vertigo and it looked like they were out of it because of how long the series was. This was stuff that has nothing to do with that straw man. It's so different how best of 3 plays out. By the way, just as an aside, the same Lurpus also thinks best of 1 is fine in the group stage for similar reasons, which is he just did a raw data dump analysis of the sheer win rate of all teams playing in a whole tournament and said, like, look, they basically win at the same sort of rate as best of 3s anyway. Yeah, but I care about best of 3s to filter out for the best teams, and especially when the best teams play each other. It's not the same as just being one's beating anyone in the tournament, is it? So that's a flaw, in my opinion, of stats thinking. You notice they just take the general and they even ignore, like, we're not really even applying a filter, we're just looking at everything. Best of 5 is a filter for greatness. Remember that. Most people, by the way, just as an aside, are still clueless about the map veto and its implications. I want to really test their map pool. The reason we use vetoes already is to stop one tricks. We don't want you being the best on Ancient and there's no veto, so you just pick Ancient and you always get a map win. But you're only good on 2 other maps. If it just so happens they have to play like Mirage or Dust 2 and you can win one, yeah, there you go then. That's what would suck, right? If a one trick can win on Ancient and then they're 40-60 on Mirage or Dust 2, but they win that and then they beat the way better team. Do you want that? Now, I know people say they want more upsets, but in a very childish way, as far as I can tell. Like, I want more teams who can beat each other at the elite level. That would just be really interesting, right? I don't want WWE upsets where it's just, oh my God, is that your Kindar's music? I guess he's just the new best player. No, Ziwu's better than him. And you saw that in that final. I think it's selfish what these people want. What they're saying is this: I only want to see the best CS played. And yet that is far from guaranteed in a best of 3. Especially, by the way, if one team is too good. Can people who like best of 5s not have anything? You already have the Blast Circuit. You've had tournaments for years and years and years. Most Counter-Strike history was best of 3 finals. Can we never have something? People who enjoy best of 5s, you greedy fucks. Now I'll drop my secondary factors. You'll love these. So aside from prestige events, which sort of just attenuates which one's the best of 5s, here's the one no one's talking about. The fucking meta. The meta, over the last 1.5 years, everyone's been complaining. Oh, the maps are 16, 14, everything's 3 maps. Like, you just can't, like, win and smash people. That wasn't the case in the Astralis era. That wasn't the case in the Fnatic era. That wasn't the case back when Luminosity and SK were winning. That wasn't the case when Nip was winning at the beginning of the game. This is the most extreme time ever to complain about best of 5. Spoiler, you aren't complaining about a best of 5. You're actually complaining about the meta, what's wrong with it. But you won't shift it to that topic because, you know, oh, I want to get hired to the major. Oh, Valve, oh, they'll never do anything anyway. Complain about what you actually care about, mate. Not just some fucking whack angle that's luxury. I can complain about best of 5s all day long. They're going to change them anyway, are they? What about if you changed the max rounds to 12? What if you changed the economy back so it wasn't as fucked as it was? Wouldn't some of the maps be a lot quicker and take away your main problems? Also, let's be real. I'll just add this in there. It's another opinion I have. I've always thought max rounds 3 for overtime is whack because you just constantly get these like 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 3-0, 3-0. I think that happens way more. If you have best of 5 as overtime, I think you're very rarely going to get more than 1 overtime session and it'll be over. Yeah, a couple more rounds might be played, but it means you don't have 3 overtimes in a row, in my opinion. Just an opinion. I think it also, by the way, ignores that players and broadcasts have now made the broadcasts absurdly long. They act like this was always the case in Counter-Strike. Nah. Now the time to swap between halves is 3 minutes to show commercials and give them time to talk. The time for an overtime to start is minutes long. In the old game, by the way, we just swapped sides and started playing again. Overtime just began Pacy immediately after the game. You're the ones who extended the broadcast, and then you have the goal to turn around, act like you imposed this on us, and now you're going to go like, oh, well, you can't have what you want because I've made it all shitty. Well, then fuck off making it shitty. Because let me just address something quickly here. There are so many logical fallacies at play with people's arguments. It's not about them being stupid. It's not that they don't have any good points. It's that the way they're expressing them is just cheap. It's sophistry. The strawmans. They haven't thought it through. They don't have a principle. They're making a point, but they haven't actually thought it all through and applied it in all scenarios. Not ever willing to give any ground on areas that actually logically doesn't make sense in their argument. I didn't come out the womb knowing what logical fallacies are. I studied them. I went and looked into them. I tried as best I could to remove them from my thinking, remove them from my arguments. In this video, I've given up things that, in theory, help the other side because I'm being honest, right? I'm actually trying to explore the argument, have a discussion, not win a debate or look right. Fuck looking right. How about being right? How about that? How about let's together get to the point where we can be, maybe one of us on our own, I can't always be right, but together in discussion, honest, open discussion, where we assess all the factors, we can get somewhere further, can't we? We can elevate Counter-Strike, we can elevate the scene, and stop the single factor analysis. It's just best of 5 or it's nothing. It's just best of 5 all sucks, or the best of 3s are all amazing. It's just this meta, or no, there's just this meta. It's just whatever they are now, or nothing. It's just childish. Do you want to have the discussions or do you want to look right? Best of 5s are a filter for greatness, so use them when greatness is the key concept you want to select for most highly. Majors, prestige events, the final of your whole circuit.
Hey, it's simple, you're watching Thorin channel. Shut the fuck up, you fucking bitch.
This video was kindly supported by Ahmed Hadjou, Hades GOUD, Kai L, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Travis Goff, Adam Ochs, Animosity, Bot Pounder 420, Jensen Goh, Kovacevicd, Pacy, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Tooorin, and as always, special thanks goes out to Jerky's Minion. Would you like to suggest a topic or a guest? Would you like to ask a question for my monthly AMA? Do you want teasers on who's going to be the upcoming interview subjects in my content? Do you want to take part in one of those long discussions with me about anything in esports? Well, if so, all of the above perks are available if you put your money where your mouth is and join the Scrolluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.